This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo, hence the name of the podcast. And today I have somebody very special that she's working in my island, so I'm very excited about that. She's the host and CEO of Cronin's Castles, and her name is Kelly Cronin. And I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But first, Kelly, how are you? I'm
great. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you took the time to come here. I mean, you were telling me that you were in the Bigger Pockets podcast. I think this is the first podcast that I got hooked on, and that's why it got me super excited. I'm honored that you're here. So thank you for that.
And thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah. So let's kick it off with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Sure. So I am the host and CEO of Cronin's Castles. We started about 2 years ago, just trying to maximize what we have for retirement and really looking at different ways of utilizing that, and settled on doing it through vacation and short-term rentals. And we are at 2 open rentals currently, with another one coming up, and a glamping experience coming up on 80 acres in Ladysmith, Wisconsin down the road. So we have a geodesic dome up in Alaska and a roundhouse in Vieques, Puerto Rico, and a long-term rental here in Milwaukee. And then we'll have vintage buses, some bell tents, and some just really fun little places, and a treehouse to stay in Ladysmith, Wisconsin.
Wow, so much to unpack there. So when you say the retro buses, is it like an establishment where you stay in a bus? Like how does that work?
So we have a converted school bus, a partially converted school bus that will be there, and then some vintage campers and bell tents. And the eventual goal is to have a treehouse that opens on one side to the sunrise and one side to the sunset.
That is amazing. And this is all kind of like I'm imagining kind of like a food truck park kind of looking part thing, but then it's for staying instead of for eating type stuff, and with an ambience or something.
Yeah. So imagine a forest though, with little platforms throughout it. And as you walk through, you get to different places, and you can choose which one you want to stay at. They're all, super affordable because they're glamping experiences. There will be, showers for those of us who don't really like to camp. There will be real mattresses on every single stay, because some of us don't really like to camp. And then as you walk through the forest, there are a couple different plots that we've planned out for different courses around the property, all 80 acres of it. And there's a river that runs through it, but there's different stops out in the woods that you can really engage with other people and engage with your family, and just disconnect from the Wi-Fi and reconnect with the world. Different places to stop and do art. We have a little art station out there. We have a couple of game stations, so giant Jenga and things like that. We have a BYOB little place to stop and eat. It's great. It's phenomenal.
That sounds so amazing, and definitely things that are very needed, especially nowadays that everybody's so mobile, right? Everybody's so mobile because, like the pandemic, it pushed a lot of jobs to do the online, and now it's like, well, it's here to stay. Like, well, if it worked and people are happier and they're spending less money on gas and all these things, and a lot of people are willing to take a cut on their pay as long as they're more free, right? Exactly. So it's very, and do you get people that are like that? Like, do you offer like internet stuff that you can, be working from these places?
Yeah. So we have a disclaimer on our internet at each of our locations. We do have very, very fast, very good internet, or as good as we can possibly get in each of the places that we have. But the disclaimer is that if you really want to connect, to disconnect. So it's there for those who have to work, or who need it for various different reasons, or those who are just so hooked on technology that they can't get away. but it's also, something that we really encourage turning off. And, for example, in Vieques, just sitting on your porch and watching the wild horses come through and paying attention to what's around you as opposed to paying attention to what's on your phone.
Yeah, yeah. Me being from Puerto Rico, I haven't been in Vieques because I always go to Culebra, which is the next little island. It's a similar vibe, in that experience. Like you wake up and seeing the sunrise and just enjoying the disconnect and just being on a beautiful little island and just like it's like golf carts everywhere, right? Just all about that life. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty
Like to
cool.
say that it's so much better to connect with your HD sunrises than your HD TV any day of the week.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and that's why I wanna get LASIK as soon as possible so I can see HD all the time, right? Because
There you
right now
go.
it's like I can only see HD if I have this ones or my contacts on. So, but it's a beautiful thing, like when you can be able to enjoy that. So, um, now I wanna ask a question on that I like asking everybody, because in here I love talking about the background and the why of the things, but then also to give takeaways, to give advice. So,
Yeah.
what advice do you have either for business owners in general or just people in general that want to disconnect, or maybe people that would like to start short-term rentals themselves, kind of like the things that you're doing?
Absolutely. I think the biggest advice that I would have either for myself, my younger version of myself, or for anyone else who's looking to do it is plan less and live more. And I think that, that's actually one of the biggest mottos that we have for our rental company, just because of the fact that we want people to be able to come to a place and not have to worry about the logistics of it. So we try and fit all of those things in. And one thing that I'll say is that the way that that applies to business is the fact that I've had a lifetime savings that I've been saving up for my entire time of working, and I've always saved 50% of my income. And it took me so long to actually stop being scared of it and invest it into the places that are now going to become Cronin's castles. And it really took just taking that leap of faith, because once I finally did it, it avalanched. Once I finally did it, I went from no places to 4 places in the space of a couple months. And it's terrifying before you take that step, and you can overanalyze till the moon and back. And the big thing that I'll tell you is that no matter what is holding you back, no matter what step seems like that step that you just can't get past, everything is figure outable. There's a book even to read about that. Maria Forleo writes all about it. And honestly, just don't be scared and be a little bit out there, leap before you look, and you'll be off to the races.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great advice. So great advice, and it's a great advice for just business and life in general. It's normal for us as humans to have this like monster or this that is telling you like, no, stay here, you're safe. Like, no, it's scary, right? It's a normal thing because it's a mechanism that of defense. Like, oh, you're comfortable here, why move?
Right.
But in getting uncomfortable, that's where the growth happens. And that's why simple stuff that you can get uncomfortable first to get your mindset ready, like taking cold showers or ice baths or the working out and all those different things, that you really put yourself on an uncomfortable position that is safe. So that way you can train your mind to be like, look, if I can survive these things, then I can deal with other stuff too. And that's what's so powerful about this working out and then committing to something. Like, even when people say like, oh, just commit to doing your bed every day, like, it's not about what the thing actually is doing, it's the discipline, it's the commitment to do something. You say, look, I'm gonna do this, and it's not non-negotiable. And then you get yourself in that position, and then it's just believe in yourself, right? Like, just go for it. And look, if you fail, there's always ways to just bounce back, right? Like, it's not an end the world. Just manage the risk management, but take risk. I mean, if you don't take risk, like I've taken so much risk like going into my business and stuff, but I'm glad that I've taken it. And a lot of times I'm like, shit, like I should have done it, but then I don't want to die, or I don't want to be like on my deathbed and be like, damn, I should have taken more risk, right? Like I feel I'd rather have stories of all the stupid shit that I did and got to the level that I wanted. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think honestly, if if you get to the end of things, then things are ending. But until then, you have a numerous amounts of times to revisit whatever you've done. You can get out of anything if you give it enough time.
And that got me thinking about something that Shia LaBeouf said in one of the interviews that he was like went viral. It's like, look, if at the end it's gonna be okay, and if it's not okay, then
Not
it's
the
not
end.
the end.
Hmm.
That's it. And that's what I literally live by this. And I have to tell that to myself often because it's like, look, things are gonna work out. Like you're doing good, you're an honest person, you're giving value. Like things happen. And my biggest problem it has been hiring people. That's been my biggest thing. It's I need people to grow, and then just it's so hard to deal with people. And that's like the biggest thing. And I'm such a people person. I trust people and all that. So that's like the biggest setbacks that I've had is just the people that I hire to do work for my clients. That's been the biggest setback. But it's part of it, right? And it's just me not knowing better, me growing, and I'm glad that I've done these things because it allowed me to have some opportunities. Look, I got you now in this podcast. It's someone like that you were just in bigger pockets, and me being able to land you here, like it's just because I'm putting myself out there. Like, and I have my team putting themselves out there, and we just leave with value. Say, hey, and we're not spamming anything. We just want an opportunity for you to come to our podcast, give you some exposure, and then from there, if there's good collaboration, we like each other, great. If not, all like I'm gonna ask is just share the podcast, right? Like share the podcast, and that's it. So that's I'm going about this.
That leads to a good thought process, and that thought process is ask the questions, because honestly, if you don't ask the question, the answer is never going to be yes. But what's the worst that they can possibly say? No.
Exactly. So what is like a challenge that you've overcome that you think is it's worth sharing with the audience?
Absolutely. You talk about hiring the right people, and I think that one of the biggest challenges that I've ever faced is dealing with the contractors that have been associated with what we've done. And we've done a really good job of changing how we've actually looked at hiring contractors and how we've looked at putting together these places, just because of the fact that, we really learned our lessons. So we learned our lesson about creating really good agreements with the people that we're working with, making sure that we vet the people that we're working with, even if it feels like there's not very many people to choose from. We've done a really good job of making sure that we, to some extent, interview contractors. And I think in this really tight market, it really feels like you have to just hire the only person who says yes. And the reality is that that's not really true, right? You do have to hire someone. And if you extend out your timeline for whatever you're looking for, that is probably a safer thing than just hiring whoever says yes. So just making sure that, decide where your purpose and where your goals really sit, and make sure that you're asking the behavioral questions of the people that you're looking at, whether it be a GC or a cleaner or a caretaker like we have, or whatever that might be. Make sure that you're asking the behavioral questions that align with your goals. When I talk to a potential caretaker, I talk to them about, hey, so tell me about a couple situations where you have gotten into the hospitality business and where you've gone above and beyond for a guest that's coming in. And the answers that win are not, hey, oh, I left out extra soap. The answers that win are, hey, I heard that one of them was lost. And so I drove across the island to go at 10 o'clock at night and guide them to the place. Like that's an answer that wins, because every time that a guest has an experience at my place, I'm trying to make it the least stress, the most relaxing, and the most experiential thing that they possibly can. Same thing goes with the vendors that we create relationships with. I really look at them as, hey, do they align with my goals? Are they all for saving this beautiful planet or this beautiful island or, this beautiful place in Alaska? Are they all for, taking really good care of the clients? Are they going to align with creating an experience that someone's never going to get somewhere else? Is my guest going to meet a baby octopus while they're out scuba diving? Cool. Is my guest going to go on the best, dog sledding tour in the state of Alaska? Cool. Like, those are the things that I'm going to interview for when I'm talking to someone. And those are the things that I'm going to look for to make sure that I'm putting myself together with, with the right people.
I love it. I love it because it's like I said, my biggest challenge, right? And that's, I love this podcast because it allows me to have a valuable conversation where I often learn a lot and at the same time record it and then being able to share it with the world, right? It's evergreen
Absolutely.
content, have it in YouTube and all podcast platforms too. So it's a pretty cool thing to be able to see. Like what the word of the podcast that I often say is perspective. That's what this podcast gives to people, is perspective, because as business owners, entrepreneurs, and we do so many different things, and everybody, even in the same industry, it's like a different perspective. Like there people do things differently, they go about it differently. That's why I love that, because if there's anything that I want out of this podcast, is for people to look at us and be like, if they did it, like, I can do it. And I've been overthinking all these things, and they say, like, just took action, do this, do the research, be careful who you hire, all that stuff, right? And then you start planting those seeds, right? And that's, I'm all about that. Like, I'm always planting seeds. That's my thing. That's I say this all the time, and I'm like, okay, look, I'm just planting some seeds here, If it grow great, if not, that's fine. I'm just doing my job and just planting seeds everywhere, right? So it's pretty cool. Thanks for sharing that, because it's a very important thing, not only for me, but anybody that can listen to this can get something out of it, and that's what I want, just having some takeaways. So thank you.
Sure.
Talking about takeaways, is there any other big takeaways that you would like to leave the audience with?
I think one of the biggest things, we touched on it before, is just that it seems insurmountable. There's always one thing, that our little brains say, gosh, I can't get past this thing. And for me, I come from veterinary medicine, and it's traditionally a very low paying role. Most of my career I've been spending on the floor as a technician in the, less than $20 an hour range, right? And the big hang up was, oh, I'm never going to have enough to invest in a vacation property, or, really get into something like real estate. And the reality is that that's not true, right? There are so many different ways of gaming the system and getting into the thing that you want to do. And maybe that's not real estate, and that's totally fine. Maybe it's something else, but there's just so many opportunities to do things for a little bit less, and to start things, no matter what is in your way, to start things the right way. So for example, I didn't have a lot to start this vacation rental business. And so a lot of what I did was trying to work with the people selling these places to say, how can I do this for a little bit less? Like, what can I do to make sure that I've got a place that's just so uncommon and amazing and crazy, and how can I make it wonderful, but how can I do it for just a little bit less? Is it for example, the place that we bought in Vieques was on owner financing. Is it something where I can get, some investors together to do this? Or is it a situation where I can, figure out how to buy a place that's actually in situ and I have to finish it off? Or, is it so off grid that other people don't want to touch it? Well, off grid can be something that's really marketable. So there's lots of different ways of doing that. Even in terms of your own house, you can certainly look for something like a duplex that's going to lower how much you actually pay for the house. And it's going to give you an opportunity to really gamify your life in terms of having a rental property in addition to having your own, standard house as well. There's just so many ways to win. And I just really want to challenge everyone to think a little bit outside the box as you're coming into these things.
That's awesome. I love it. And it's true. You can always find ways to get an edge somehow. Like, there's always, and then it's very important, if you have a lot of value to yourself, then you can always find ways to just give value to people different ways, right?
Absolutely.
So that way it's you bring things to the table, because one of the biggest challenges that business owners or just like partnership everything investors is, there's always the people are gonna be like, what's in it for me, right? Like that's the challenge, like for when you're hiring, when you're partnering, everything, it's like, what's in it for me? That's what everybody's thinking. So as long as you live with massive value, that it's like, look, it's not just about the money, it's just not about like, there's different people that are interested on buying this, but with you I feel more connected, I feel like you're gonna do something special, like, or I feel like you gonna bring more value to even this town, or right, like there's infinite ways to go about this. They're just be creative, don't have limiting beliefs, like, oh my god, like if I can do it this way, then I can do it. Like there's so many ways to find. So and I would say also to add, just just talk to more people, always talk to more people. Like not only they give you perspective, they give you insights, they sometimes even you just talking to a new person, you start saying things that are different just because they react different, and now you start creating things from your own, like and ignited stuff just because you talk to different people. So that's why, again, like I like this podcast so much, because with you I have a different experience that I have with other people, and it got me thinking about different things. And I'm always, I'm a very curious person, and I'm a creator. I love creating content, I love creating strategy, I love business. So it's pretty cool thing. And I just want to say that thank you for coming here and taking the time to add value. You're very articulated, very punchy. So this podcast has been very good, and I'm very, very excited about it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
So I know there's going to be some people that are going to be like, hey, I want to know more about these places, about her. So how can people find you?
So I have a couple of things going on. Probably the easiest way to find me is go to my websites, one of which is www.croninscastles.com. The other of which is www.vettechlife.com. As mentioned, I come from the veterinary world as well and do some coaching and speaking and things like that there. Another way to find me is on Facebook. It's either Kelly Cronin or Cronin's Castles, Vieques Sea House, In a Nutshell, Alaska. And all of those will get you right to me. You can direct message me. Please don't be shy. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you just want to connect, I don't care what it is. I love to connect. Perfect.
I love it. And I'll put the links in the description. I'll make sure that you send me the links. We get them to the development team, and we get them there. But the audio side, we do video and audio, but the audio side usually gets more listeners. So those people they're passive listening for the most part, right? Like cleaning, they're in their car, they're in something. So that's why I like to always say the things and then just put it there. So like ignite, and there's like, hey, like let me grab it, or I know it's there, right? Like, and I heard it's in the subconscious or something, right? So that's why I like covering that. So it's like one last time, I just want to say thank you. Really. This was very pleasant conversation for me, very easy you made it very easy for me. You were just so punchy, and like, so it was so good. So thank you for taking the time.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it.
So this was Kelly and Foo, and this is us signing off.
To Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.